I'm very excited to have a chat. Thank you for taking time out. Obviously, we're here to talk about not Pyewacket. We're here to talk about this is not a test. This is a film that's it's based on a book by Courtney Summers, and I kind of think that kind of the origin story from this is kind of like you read it and then you kind of reached out to her on like social media and was like, has anybody got the rights to this? What was it about this story that spoke to you and made you kind of go after it in that way?
Definitely Courtney's writing style. Her prose are amazing. Like they're so visually exciting. And also the story, the theme, like with Sloane, you know. That's what like I thought I was just gonna read a fun YA simple zombie book. And when I realized really quickly this was not that. So I was like, wow, if I could. Are you hearing that ding, by the way? No, okay, good. Sorry, it just anyway. Um, I was like really, really pleasantly surprised. I was like, this is wild. This is visceral. This is would be a beautiful, intense film. But also Sloane, because I went through a difficult period in my teens, very difficult, and I could anchor. I understood what she was going through, and I said I could tell this story. I can see that silver lining. I want to tell this story. I want to see that hope and use the zombies as the metaphor and the backdrop, which she does. And I said, I can do this. I would want this to be my next film. So lucky, I got lucky. Yeah, that's why.
And how does one kind of go about adapting a book? Because obviously it happens quite a lot, but it's not, I don't think it's as easy as people think because, you can't, books are a lot bigger than a script. You can't just take that book and go, there it is on the screen. You have to kind of, work around it.
I love that you're the first to ask that. I love that. It's not easy because I've written a lot of my own scripts on spec, obviously, in Pyewacket. The book is great because it gives you the foundation. Like it gives you an anchor point. It gives you like, okay, I don't want to stray too far, but it's difficult. Like I reread the book like 10 times and I'm highlighting everything, circling everything, piecing it, outlining it, like how does this beat? Where's the first act, second act? How does that work? But she had such a great opening. So I knew I'd start there, and then she pushes us forward right after. They're right in the school right after. You don't know how they got there. You don't know. There's blood on her face, so all that was a visually um, very like shocking. And I was like, okay, that's a great way. And then I was just like, it's a narration in her head. You're in her head the whole time. And I'm not the biggest fan of voiceover narration, so I didn't want to just use that as a tool. I wanted to use a visual tool more than anything. So whenever they talked about stuff in the school, I would show it, or I'd pick the best moments with the sister and created more. Like the card isn't there, the drop off at the school with the card and all that. That's not there. So I said, well, instead of like she's kind of saying that about her sister. I'm gonna just show it this way. So there's nothing said. She opens the card. What she needs to say is in the card, and moving on day by day, their mantra, like all that, I put into the help what Courtney was already saying. So it's really deducing it, like really bringing it down to the essence, because there's not much time to do it by keeping the theme intact. And so it helped that her book wasn't Lord of the Rings either, to be honest, because But yeah, it's tricky. It's definitely tricky. There's a lot of drafts before I showed her, and I was
And
very nervous.
inevitably,
Yeah.
yeah, 'cause, I mean, inevitably there'll be, somebody that watches it and, you've missed like their favorite part and that. But, this is, the thing is, it's a fine art. You have to kind of get that essence while still, making it interesting for people that aren't like married to the book.
Yeah, like there's one character that's not in the movie. And I explained it to her, and she went with it. But his bike is in the movie. It's a long story. Like he's in there, but he's not really there. Yeah, but you just gotta like. I was thinking about that like recently. Like it's really hard to adapt a book, but if you feel the same thing you're feeling when you're reading the book when you're watching the movie, then I think it's a success. That's 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 what Courtney was so happy about.
Hmm. And this isn't, your first time working with zombies, one of your early shorts,
Yeah, somber
Strawberry
zombie.
Zombie. That's another one that features zombies. How was it to kind of, go back to zombies?
Oh, I've always I love that. But yeah, it was great. It was great to funny, I'm glad you did your research. Yeah, that was 2005 or something. I did my first short film, then I fell in love with directing through that. It was great. I always knew I wanted to do a feature with zombies, and then a lot of people, when you're writing scripts or you're trying to pitch people, they're always like, "Oh, the zombies has been done to death. There's nothing else to say," and all that stuff. And I just disagree. I disagree. There's always room. It's a t storytelling tool that's I think it's going to stand the test of time, especially reintroducing it to new viewers, right? Yeah, so it was great. What was funny was I didn't. I learned a lot from that first short film. Hopefully, I was getting better, but it was like, okay, great. Now I get to do it for real. That was the feeling I had. Okay, that was a good tricycle. I have to now. I got to do it for real, and I can't just say, okay, I'm just still learning here. No, I got to go for it. We have to go for it. So it's cool.
And, there's street zombies in both films.
That's right. But you know what? In that one, they don't run. They stumble around, so they walk. I'm just laughing because that movie, yeah, whatever. Thank you.
But you just kind of mentioned, there is so much that can be done with the zombie story. What do you think it is, about kind of like this zombie apocalypse, archetype that, keeps bringing audiences back?
I just think it's a great tool to be again a catharsis for us, like consumerism with Dawn of the Dead, social dynamics. Like there's so many things you could do as a backdrop. Like even in this one, in depression, it's the best metaphor, I think, for a society collapsing or making it, trying to make a case for something, right? It could be even a global warming, it could be anything, anything, as long as the story is good. And I think, yeah, so and also like I was telling you earlier too, like that it's us. Like it's always like it's not a monster. It's not like a space, thing that came out of the ground or whatever. It's not space, not a monster out of the woods, some fairy tale. It's like this is us gone wrong. So we're staring at us in the face, and we got to face ourselves. So I just think it'll just never go away. Such a beautiful storytelling device.
Yeah. And obviously, as well as, being a writer and a director, you've done a lot of acting. Do you find that that helps, especially in a film like this, where, a lot of the acting, it's not necessarily dialogue driven. It's more, there's a lot of just, you're kind of telling where Sloane is just by reading Olivia's face. Does having that experience as an actor yourself kind of help with that shorthand, sort of like having those conversations about, how you want things to be?
Oh, immensely, immensely. I think everybody who directs should at least take one acting class. Because you know what it's like to be on the field. You know what it's like to be in front of that camera. You know what it's like to be vulnerable, and you can read things that maybe some people can't see, and and they appreciate it too. It's like having a coach. Let's say I have a boxing coach, but they never fought. It's like it's a different. You feel a bit different. No, they've been in the ring. I know what it's like to be in the ring. They know, So when you're giving the notes, it's coming from a place of knowledge, or especially like knowing when to get out of their way. Because I was acting for 20 years. I've done a lot, and I know when directors would say something I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, so I know you kind of like it's easier to navigate. So yeah, it's so important and it helps me, yeah, for sure. Because I feel like one of them, you know.
Yeah. I mean, we should talk about Olivia. What was it about her that, made her right for Sloane? Because I guess a lot of audiences are probably more familiar with her for something like, Heart Eyes, which is, a lot lighter in tone than this character.
She has a gravitas. I think it comes it's natural to her. But it's when I first saw her in Totally Killer, I thought, she was playing comedic, but there was something she's so present. She was so in the moment. And then when I saw her in Cruel Summer, I saw Sloane in Cruel Summer, and I can see, well, she has a range, she understands like her craft. You can tell. And I thought that was Sloane. I looked at her on Cruel Summer, I was like, she would be incredible. And then we got very lucky. And then she wanted to do the movie, and I remember even on the first day, like she's one of those rare actors where she sits there and the camera's in a close up, and you can feel she lets us in with her eyes. You can feel what she's feeling, and it's amazing. And for me, it was such a joy as a director, which had me tearing up constantly because I was tethered to her on the screen. So that she was that vehicle for Sloane, right? So she was living with that through the whole process, and I thought she did a phenomenal job. So I remember by the first day, like halfway through the day, I was just like, I knew it's an instinct. I felt it was going to work, but then I knew it. Halfway, I was just like, I was over the moon. And I was looking at dailies that night, and I was like, yeah, oh my God, we're got so lucky because she emanates that. Because like Sloane can be reserved, right?
Mm.
Sloane in the book, she could be a bit aloof, and she played that. She could but let us in when she wanted to, and she was just perfect. So she was great.
And there's also a lot of connectivity between Sloane and Pyewacket's Leah. What do you think it is about, that kind of character that you're drawn to?
Well, I mean, in a weird way, like Leah was me, even though like that was my story. A lot of that was with my mother. I didn't try to kill my mother with a spell, but like moving out, there's a lot of similar things going on there. I drew from my personal life. Um, and Sloane, it was just like I said, if Courtney Summers' book didn't have Sloane or didn't have that undercurrent of that depression that she was going through, searching for, a reason to live or whatever, or why there's a reason to live, I may not have been interested in doing it. It was about like the zombie stuff was fantastic, but it needs to be more than that. So
Mm.
it drew me to her. So, and I like I love, Derek Sanfrance movies, right? And then they always have that character. So it's an emotional connection you have to have first. Like A Place Beyond the Pines, like with the rate of the first scene with them and how they get together, the baby or whatever, you're emotionally connected immediately.
Mm.
So everything else is good. So I got emotionally connected to Sloane in the book. So I was like, oh, I have that anchor, I'm good to go. To be
Mm.
inspired every day. And then these great characters like Reese come in and like Carrie comes in that just accents it and brings it up. And then it's about feeling inspired. For sh So yeah, that's why. Like Leah, same thing. I want emotion. I want to feel something.
I mean, genre cinema is having, a hell of a year already. It's only
Yeah.
February, and This Is Not a Test is released in the US on, February 20th. Why do you hope that audiences go out for this film?
Why do I hope they go out for this film? I hope they go out for this film. I hope that everybody wants to see the film. That's your hope, right? But I would love like if Gen Alpha or Gen Z, they just want to go out and haven't seen a zombie movie yet, or they do like zombies. It's one for them as well. It's one for everyone, but it's one. It's like, hey, we want let's go check this out, and they think I want to go see a cool zombie film, but I want to feel something, and it's so visceral, and it's and that they hopefully tell people like it's more than just a zombie film. It's like I feel hopeful. I actually cried in it. I can't believe it. It's actually something really worth seeing. And then they tell their friends, you got to go see this. It's really cool. You'll see the performances. You'll see yourself in it. And then they go to high school and they're like, I feel better today. I saw this movie. Like my life is pretty good. But I want people to go, yeah, to have like I want to escape, have a great time in the cinema with my friends, get feel joy, feel fear, jump out of my seat, and feel satisfied at the end. I think the film is going to give it to them. I really do.
Well, thank you so much for your time and best of luck with the film.
Thank you so much, Kat. I appreciate it. Is
And
that
thank you again.
Wally? Wally in the back? Can I
We've
see
got
him?
Wally, Stephen, and Mo. This is
Can I see him? Wally? Yeah, 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 yeah.
Lego.
Look at
Yeah.
that. That's my. I have a son who's 10. It's his favorite movie.
Yeah, so this is for my 7-year-old. It's for my daughter. So yeah.
Oh, you make me want to watch it again. That's great. I love those.
But this got the weekend. Yeah, stick Wally on.
Yeah, yeah.
But, but yes, thank you again for for Pyewacket and for Backcountry and stuff as well. I mean, I was never going to go camping in the woods, but I definitely won't now. So thank you for
Thank
that.
you.
Um,
Thank you.